Hello, and thank you for being here, Annette. Hi, Annette. How are you? And hello for
Hello. Thank you so
today's
much for
audience.
having me. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure to have you today as a preferred and a special guest today. Annette, you have built a lot in the customer experience world. You have chaired CXPA as well for the past year, and you have done a lot of work. You have authored and written two books about customer experience, understanding, and the new one is Built to Win. Just
Yep.
to talk about it, you have the customer journey. Inc., which is the where you talk about customer journey, how we inject it, how we build it, and you have done a lot in sharing content for us. You, for personally, you were always one of the top leaders that I follow to learn
Thank
and gain knowledge. Welcome, Anit, with us today.
thank you. Thank you so much for having me and a great introduction. I will just correct you on one thing for the CXPA. I was the chair a couple of years ago, but still actively involved in the association in terms of all the benefits for the members. So thank you for that. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. 2 years ago, I was in the Experience Summit. I watched you
Nice.
the whole day. It was during Corona. I remember
Yeah,
I was in UAE, and it
that
was
was a
just talking.
long day.
Yeah, it was an awesome day. I just spent the whole day. It was
Yeah,
We were locked down in our home, and I was just watching,
that's
learning a
awesome.
lot. We have a lot of
A
freedom.
lot of great
So hopefully,
speakers. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
yeah, hopefully to see such a thing again, Annette.
Maybe one day. It is a lot of work, and we were going to do it again, but then I got bogged down with a lot of other work, and I just had to prioritize. So
Excellent. Now, Anit, I'm just talking just to start in the most important area about customer journey, because it's one of the major, I would say, key bases just to build the customer experience, work on the experience in general. And it focus on I think the journey mapping and building the customer journey focus on everything from processes, technology, channels, priorities, and all this. How we can build it, because I think this is an very important part just to speak about.
Absolutely. And I always say that the journey map is such a powerful tool. It really is a catalyst for change, right? And if it's done right, and if we think about it not just as a tool, but as the process that it is, I think that's just a really important part of it. I've come up with this 6-part journey mapping process. It's,
Uh-huh.
the first step is obviously we've got a plan. We've got a plan for what we're going to do and what journey we're going to map, what the scope of the map is going to be, who we're going to map for, all of those different components. What are the objectives? Why are we doing this? Do we even have the budget to make changes, going forward based on the things that we learned, right? So that's the first step. It's a critical
Uh-huh.
step in order to make sure that the rest of the process, turns out to be the catalyst for change that we hope it is. And then the second step is that mapping workshop. We can talk in more detail about all of those things, but the second step is a
Just
mapping
because,
workshop. Keep
yeah.
going.
Yeah, because mapping workshop, I think one of the most important things, having everyone speaking different points, you just put it on the
Yeah,
mapping.
and the most important part is, that we've got to have the customers in that workshop, right? And the customers doing the work and not devolving into something that where it's just the employees talking and sharing what they think the experience is, right? Having the customer there in the room doing the work, bringing customer data and customer feedback into the maps, because it really is all about walking in their shoes,
Uh-huh.
and it's about the customer viewpoint, right? If we don't capture what the customer is thinking, doing, and feeling in a map, then we're not journey mapping, right? We're doing something else. So really important that we do that.
Exactly. Just I want a question here. Just shall we start always with customers, or we can start from frontliners building up, then we go to the customer? So it's a workshops. It's a series of workshops, not one, or how is it?
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that, but that it's an additional step, right? So you can do
Uh-huh.
that where you've got employees, different stakeholders in the room, mapping, what they believe. And a lot of times your employees are your customers as well. Depends on the industry or depends on what it is. But a lot of times, especially in B2C businesses, your employees are your customers as well. So they
Yeah.
do know the experience. But what I've found when we do that and we have employees in the room, inhibited know the do, right? And they're inhibited by, well, I know why we do this. And so
Uh-huh.
they sort of tempered their feelings and their emotions and the things that they say during the workshop because of that. And so I actually prefer to just start with customers and have the customer in the room, but it is okay to start with employees. And if we do start with employees, then we have to go out and validate with customers. We have to go out and make sure we bring that customer data into the map. So it's a place to start if you have to start there, but it's not my preferred way to go.
Excellent. Shall we go with different personas, or every persona, every segment should go, and we need to define one place to start, then we can go, because when we have a B2C, it's a complicated thing, I think, in the major. So how we select, where shall we start? Basically, start with which segment usually, or shall we go with the mass and then we go priorities, or based on the priorities?
Yeah, it's a good question. First of all, we need to do the work to create our personas. I would never design the experience for all my customers, because all my customers are not.
Start somewhere, start small.
Start somewhere, exactly. So you've got to do the work to develop those personas, to understand. Start with three to five key personas for the business. And design for them. And when I say you've got to do the work, you actually have to talk to customers. Again, we can't just have employees sitting in a room saying, here's who I think our customers are. Here's who I think, what I think their preferences are, and what I think their pain points.
Just go and ask them. Yeah, this is exactly. I was just saying this recently. We see that people always trying to be the volunteer to answer on behalf of, I don't know, behalf of the customer, on behalf of other stakeholders. So I tell them always, guys, don't answer on behalf of them. Just go and ask them. It's very simple. Ask them, be able to promise that you will do something regarding their journey. Then you can do it. Just don't make assumptions, because the whole idea is outside in the customer review and putting the lens.
Yeah. And that's why it's called customer understanding. It's not called my understanding. It's called customer understanding. Right?
Yeah, this is why we always forget it's starting with customer, guys. So,
I don't know if you've heard the story. I've shared this a couple of times, but I had a client that I worked with for a couple of years, and we were sitting in their conference room one day with some of their employees. We were planning out our journey mapping workshops and what we were going to do. And the employees kept saying, I think the customer, I think the customer, I think the customer. And I had to, after about 5 minutes of that, I had to stop them and say, okay, there was a jar or a basket in the table in front of us. And I said, for every time you say, I think the customer, dollar goes in the basket, because we can't say I think, because that's just not how we can design for our customers. We have to say I know, or we know, because we've done the work to really understand them. So they love that. And I've shared that with others, and they're like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, very, very great. Yeah, we will collect a lot of money, actually.
That too.
Yeah, excellent. And then the third step, after we do the mapping with the workshop sessions, we go to analysis, or what? Defining the 6 steps of the journey mapping, or the
Yeah. So the next step after we do the journey mapping workshop is what I call identify. And that's where we dig deep. We'll identify those key moments of truth. We're going to do some root cause analysis, really understand what is happening that is creating the issues, or creating the good experience. We always talk about the bad things, but creating the experience for customers. And so that's where we start, so that we can, and I hate to say this, but apply some Band-Aids and just fix what's happening immediately. But then we need to go to a couple of other things. The next workshop that we're going to do is a service blueprint workshop. And that's where we take a look at what's happening behind the scenes, the people, the tools, the systems, the processes that are creating and facilitating the experience that the customer's having. And then we go into future state. We go and ideate the ideal experience of the future, right? And so those are the parts and the pieces that we need to redesign and reimagine the experience going forward. The first map is really giving us an understanding of where we are. It's giving us a baseline of where we are and allowing us to make some fixes until we can get to the redesign and the reimagining.
Perfect. Then we start with the implementation plan, just to go and fill the gaps between the current and the future state, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And the last step is implementation. We need to, and it's a continuous improvement process, but in that 6 steps, the last one is implementation. So now we've got to take what we've designed, prototype, test, launch it, train your employees, set customer expectations, reset customer expectations, and do it all over again.
All over. As per Ron Kaufman, it's like an escalator, so you cannot keep stopping. You need to keep walking up, or you'll be downgraded by the time. So it's a continuous cycle.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
the questions and conclusions from my practice for the past years. Whenever we start with the journey mapping and enhancement for the current journeys, going for the future state, we find that more than 70% of the filling the gaps in the issues resolution are cost zero or no cost. It's about the design of the process.
Yeah.
It's just about authorities and what you said, the behind the scene activities with all the stakeholders. Sometimes a rule has been there for the past, I don't know how many years, and then we
Yeah.
cannot change it. So the journey mapping and doing this on a continuous basis to not be costly, right? Or how you see
Right.
it. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great point. It doesn't, fixing the experience doesn't always cost a lot of money, right? There are things, to your point, there's training we can do. There's probably policies that are outdated or
Authorities.
processes that are broken and don't make sense anymore, right? If we take a look at those things, we can fix a good chunk of the experience without, spending a lot of money. So absolutely.
Excellent. Perfect. And now the question is about the channels. We
Okay.
choose again the channels based on the customer preferences,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And so I got the answer directly now. I don't have to. Excellent.
Yeah,
So that's why we ask them, and then we get the answer. Huh?
absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So for sure, if we want to know more and about the blocks and the journey mapping reasons and all this, we can go to the website because I see a lot
Absolutely.
of content, and you always share a lot of content with details that help anyone, and you have as well a templates there
Yeah.
and your books is there. Now
Yeah.
going to the new to the
So,
new book.
sorry. Yes, absolutely. I was just going to say, if you go to cx-journey.com, you will go to the book tab and go to the customer understanding one, and you will see a drop down for resources and the templates that you're talking about. So yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. We have the website on the same banner on this episode.
Awesome. Oh,
So
good.
you
Yep. Now
can
I
go
see
to it. That's the
it.
website. You can go to the website and we'll put it on the episode as well. Now, the question for the new book, it was Built to Win. It's
Yes.
about the culture, building
Yep.
the culture. And I think this is what we really need because for a moment and a last day, I start to lose the faith of CX because I was just checking CX is not there. Everyone is just talking CX. They don't do it CX. Even the big players, without
Yep.
mentioning the names, they were like
Yeah.
legends all the time. Now I'm facing a lot of issues. Now I'm checking just to get the Kindle app. They tell me just contact us tomorrow because the team has
Mm,
shift is ended. Okay, come on, guys, what's
right.
happening?
Right.
So we are talking about the culture, how to build the culture, the 10 principles that you have, how you
Yep.
see it, because you talk more about employee now engagement as well as part of the culture, right? So
Yep.
what are the brief or the most important principles if you want to tell us and how you see it,
Yep.
how you came to this book? In addition, this book
Yeah.
was named as top book of the business recently, right?
It was. It was. Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that. It would. Yeah. So it came to me because I had been talking about several of the principles in presentations for about a year before I started writing, and it just made sense and it resonated with people. And people would follow up with me after those presentations and say, "Hey, you know what? Thank you for saying that. That makes so much sense to me." Right. And I think there's also this real misunderstanding of what it means to be customer centric. To your point, it has to flow through the entire organization. It can't just be something that we talk about or something that some of us do. It's got to flow through the DNA of the organization. If we're going to take care of customers, we've got to have consistency across every department, across every business unit, and we get there by building this customer centric, designing and deliberately designing this customer centric culture. So there are 10 principles. I think probably, I don't want to say that any one is more important than the other, but
Yeah.
maybe I would
There are
put
some below, yeah.
it's like calling one of your children ugly. I don't know.
Yeah, because I think all of the 10 principles are core to develop
Yeah. Yeah.
silos, consistency, DNA, building the DNA, because people will love to speak about CX, but they don't have the will. So how we
Yeah.
can take it, engage everyone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But I think if I had to name, I'll say top 2 or 3 would be number one is, and it's the first principle in the book for a reason, is culture is the foundation. It really is the foundation. Like I said, that's how it becomes, this customer centricity becomes the DNA that flows through the organization. And then the second thing is leadership. And those two really go hand in hand. If we don't
yeah,
have the leaders that are driving and deliberately designing the type of culture that we want, and the culture is a shadow of the leader. So we need to have a leadership that's committed to this and aligned as well. And then probably number 3 would be to know that employees have to come more first. If we're going to focus on customers, we have to put employees more first. Now, this isn't anything new for me, anything new that I've been talking about. When I started my career at JD Power and Associates back in 1992, I was talking to clients at the time saying, hey, great, we're listening to customers, but we should listen to employees too. And they would say, we'll listen to employees later. We're going to just focus on our customers right now. And I thought, wow, that's that's kind of crazy, because if we know that employee experience drives customer experience. If we don't have employees, we don't have anybody to design, build, sell, service, implement, install, deliver, all of that, our products or our services. So there's no way that there isn't that connection between the employee
Yeah, they are the
experience.
implementation. Yeah, they are the
Yeah.
implementation arm for everything in the organization.
Yeah.
Even if you have everything as a digital and automated, they might ruin everything if they are not totally engaged, understanding. But how we can get everyone? Because whenever you start with CX, you will be the guy of the blame guy, or they will start pointing fingers. It's not me, it's the others. And this is what you said, maybe with the leadership and the foundational DNA of the organization. It needs to remove the blame. The leadership should be brave enough to accept, or how you see it, because I see that sometimes the leadership is brave to start. Then when you came with the issues to start removing and closing and overcome the things, they will start to just to pull themselves out. So how we can take it and ensure it?
Yeah, that's why it's got to be a part of the foundation, right? It's got to be, so the culture doesn't just happen by chance, right? We define culture as core values plus behaviors. And so we've got those core values defined. Then we define the behaviors that are unacceptable and acceptable for each one of those core values. And then we go out and we socialize and operationalize it, right? We bring that into everything we do: hire, fire, promote, decisions that we make, policies, processes, everything that we do has to be through the lens of those core values. And that's how we get everybody on board, right? So again, I think it's driven from the top, but then as we go, we get this grassroots groundswell from the employees. Once they understand, once it's socialized and operationalized, and they understand what this culture is that we're trying to build, they take it and run with it, right? So I think that's a huge piece of it.
Excellent. Then we go for the other I would say 7 principles that there in the book. So the 3 main is foundation. Is it all about communication, Annette, or how you see it? Communication is needed all the way, right?
Yes. Yeah. Communication is huge. I've always said communication is probably one of the most overlooked parts of the customer experience. And it's crazy, but it really is, in so many different ways, for so many different reasons, top down, bottom up, all of it, right? So yes, absolutely. Communication is a huge part of it. And you have to understand how you're going to communicate, what you're going to communicate, why you're communicating it, who your audience is, all of these things, so that and when you're going to do it, and be proactive. Don't wait till the last minute or after the fact, right? All of those, yes, absolutely. All of those things are really important, but yeah, absolutely, being proactive is great. It's really a requirement when it comes to building a great customer experience.
Excellent. I think for the remaining, we should go to the book, but I just have one more question. I mean, just to talk about when building the culture. Usually we have this silos and consistency issue, because sometimes you have contradicting messages coming. You will talk from top down, then the HR come and they will just put in your rules that they will do this quiet firing, for example, or I don't know about this kind of bill curve or some changes. Sometimes sales will have an aggressive plan where marketing will not put these supporting documents and offers. The regulatory, a lot of team. So how we ensure that consistency of messages, in addition to the communication, what you're saying, and if there is any tricks or tips that we can have just to break the silos and have consistency all the time.
Yeah. So a couple of different things, right? Culture is number one. I mean, culture is organization wide. And like I said, it's what, gets whatever culture you want flowing through the DNA of the organization. So that's really important. A customer-centric culture is one that is by nature and by definition a collaborative one. And so if departments are working together, we're breaking down or we're connecting those silos. They have to, because ultimately the outcome and the goal is a great experience for not only employees, but for customers, and an experience that's consistent and seamless. And it can't be consistent if every department is messaging differently or communicating differently or holding on to what they're doing and creating a different experience for the customer. So that's key. Leadership a commitment and alignment. That alignment piece is key, right? That alignment is key to breaking down and connecting silos, because if you've got one leader that's not board, you know, something completely different than the other departments, and that also creates that inconsistency. And then governance is another really important piece, right? That both the structure, what I call the structure, and the operating model of governance. The structures include cross-functional committees that come together to share information, to take information back out to their departments, to work together to make sure that we're doing things consistently and to fix issues in their individual departments. But it's a way for everybody to come together. Culture committee, CX champions, everybody working together cross-functionally to be consistent across the board, and to know what other departments are doing, when that often doesn't happen without that governance structure.
Excellent. I think more and more there, because what you said, CX champions, culture committee, governance, measurements, then later on how we can have the measurements, so we ensure this kind of operating model is there. So I have one more question. Influencing the leadership, Annette, because they are always, it's easy to, you have them, then you will have this powerful guy in the organization. He will start just shooting everyone just to break it sometimes. So how we can show the value? Shall we start with someone, then roll out with the remaining, or?
So show the value of focusing on customers and the customer experience and all of that. Is that what you're asking? Yeah. That is a whole nother podcast in and of itself.
Yeah, we will do it later on. Just a quick tip, because we can start with the foundation and DNA and leadership.
Yeah.
So we need to focus on one place, then we can roll out. Just basically, the value.
But it's an important question, because as customer experience professionals, we're always asked, prove the value of focusing on customers, prove the value of CX, right? And I think there are a lot of different ways. And I put it out there as, we've got to focus on both sides of our executives' brains, right? We've got to focus on the analytical side, and we've got to focus on the emotional side, the left and the right and the left. I always get those mixed up, but we've got to focus on those. And for the analytical side of the brain, we've got to share data. We've got to prove build the business case and prove our point through data and stats and what other businesses are doing that can work for us as well, and those kinds of things. And I also say that one of the things we have to find out is and I'm actually working with a client on this right now, what is your CEO's passion project, right? What legacy does your CEO want to leave behind? If your CEO is leaving in 5 years, what does he or she want to be known for? Is it that customers, poured out the back door as quickly as they came in the front door? Is it, hey, we deliver a great experience for our employees and our customers? And start to have those conversations, right? On the emotional side, I like to bring them into journey mapping sessions, right? I have had so many CEOs come into journey mapping sessions and walk out and go, wow, I had no idea that we did that to our customers.
And then they will solve issues like this with a quick decision. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Getting an immersion program, right? Having your customers, having your CEO, shadow a customer, shadow employees, that kind of thing. Bring in customer feedback, like the comments, and let them really hear the tone that customers are using to share feedback about the experience. Those kinds of things really help to turn your executives around. I don't think anybody literally wants their customers to have a bad experience, but they have so many other things going on over here that they don't realize that all those other things are really about the customer. Like if we take care of the customer, all of those other things will also fall into place. So take care of the people, the numbers will come.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I will not take more time. We will need to have a lot, always, because this discussion will not end, as we can speak for days now. Especially it's going from root to another now, because journey, culture, and all these. So thank you for having us. Before we go,
for having me, and sorry about my cat who just joined us.
Blacks, we are enjoying the cat. And just the one thing, what do you recommend us to do, just to know more about the culture and the journey before you go to our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, take the time to really educate yourself and just get started, and feel free to connect with me. I'm always happy to answer questions or help out, either cx-journey.com or AnnetteFranz.com. So thank you for that.
Excellent. Thank you, Annette. And we are happy to have you here. And for sure, we will contact you soon. We'll go to the website, we'll see the book, and to learn more about the CX. Thanks a lot, Annette, for being with
Thank you.
us.